Before we also get started into our overall, we would like to address in recent news, Melissa Barrera was fired from the Scream series because she posted in support of Palestine and wanting to stop the genocide that is happening with the people of Palestine. So we just want to say that we are in support of Melissa, and we will be supporting anything she does in her future career-wise. And we have no intentions to review the Scream series any further or any of its sequels. So we just want to say we stand with Palestine, free Palestine.
100%.
And we 100% support a ceasefire and calling for a complete ceasefire to end what is happening.
Shame on you, Spyglass.
Death to all of them. Oh, Jesus.
Yes. I have to quote Wendy Williams in addressing that because, we absolutely stand with Melissa and will not be supporting the Scream franchise going forward. It's unfortunate. It was my favorite horror franchise, period. And it's sad to kind of watch it kind of cave in on itself pretty much overnight. I mean, it's disappointing, and going forward, we're just not going to be supporting the people behind that decision. But anyway,
let's get into The Boy.
Come on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Parker.
And I'm Stevie. Today we are looking at 2016's The Boy, directed by William Brent Bell.
Join us as we journey to Brahms' house and learn all about the rules of taking care of Brahms.
Okay.
Are you ready to scream?
Come on, girl. Let's scream. Okay. I love this movie. I just want to start by saying that. I just rewatched it, just a few hours before recording. Also, I'm gonna be real. This is gonna be a lot of movies that we watch. It's either gonna be like, this is my second time watching it, or my third time watching it for most of these movies, because this is the second time I've watched this movie, or my first time for some movies.
I've seen it maybe this was my third
time. This is my second time, and it's just as good as I remember. It's just as good as I remember.
So we did our first 2 episodes over we started with Scream, so that was all the references and meta. We had The Ring, which was all these motifs and the whole meditation on parenthood.
Yes.
And stuff. This movie...
There is no lessons to be learned from this movie.
This is vibes.
It is vibes. It is stupid. And I'm here for it the whole time. What I appreciate is everyone really kind of sells it. Everyone kind of knows what movie they're in.
The actors are good. The actors are,
They're not trying to be make it super serious, because it's not a serious movie.
There's no, we're not getting into any metatextual analysis.
Is it even scary? No. It's kind of funny the whole time. Even the scares in it are just kind of okay. I wasn't scared, but I see why she would have been scared.
Yeah, sure. I think actually there are some good scares. I think the most part, it's kind of corny. But there are some hidden gems in this movie.
It's so good.
It has some things going for it. But like I said, we're not getting into any hidden themes, or it's not cinema.
No.
Right?
No.
It's sometimes...
They weren't trying to win an Oscar.
No.
They weren't trying to change the face of horror with this movie. They were just fucking around.
They were just trying.
And
period.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. I have not seen the second one, which I've heard
I have. The second one we need to do on the pod. Because
I've heard it's even more chaotic for no reason.
Absolutely. You've heard correctly then, because it is so chaotic. But that's its own thing. But we'll go ahead and get into it. Also, spoiler alert, we're getting ready to dive into the whole plot of the movie. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you've never seen it, go watch The Boy, come back, and explore the story with us. So, yeah. The Boy.
So we start out, we get some like pans of like the house and some like toys in the house. And we're like, okay. Toys. The boy. Duh, obviously. Okay.
We meet our main character, Greta.
And she is packing up. She's in a taxi.
She's American. And she's arriving here in this British mansion.
Undisclosed.
Yeah. I have no idea. Just generic British countryside vibes. She's in a taxi and she drives up to this house and it's this like, it's gorgeous. It's like this English castle, like chateau, I guess. Is it a chateau? I don't know.
It's a McMansion.
It's a McMansion. It's their McMansion vibes. And we also see like the kind of outside the exterior, the balcony, there's like a piece of it that is kind of charred.
Yes.
So that's kind of a unique feature of the house. It almost kind of looks like it's intentional, but it also kind of looks like, did this house like go through a fire at some point?
Like,
it's
what's
mysterious.
the tea here?
Yeah.
What's the tea? And then tell me what's the tea.
And Greta is, obviously, she's from America. This is probably her first time in the UK, and she's not accustomed to like some of the cultural differences, and she takes her shoes off when she first gets into the house, and it's kind of,
which I respect.
Well, here
in my household
in America, we take our shoes off at the door.
Well, you should. Some people don't.
Yeah,
and I'm like, why are you bringing? I'm sorry.
Mud.
First of all, if you ever come to my household, it's a no shoes household.
It's a no shoes
because
household.
First of all, why are you dragging? I don't know where you've been walking.
I don't know what filth you've been trotting up and down
filth,
on.
And there's stuff that I just don't need. So get that out of here.
Get it out.
Exactly.
So good on Greta. But yeah, just obviously we'll come to find out.
I respect it. Respect Greta.
That's kind of her showing her Americanism. So yeah, she's walking through the house. She's trying to find the people who own it. And this movie has all these like artsy shots for like no reason. Of like close-ups on like the taxidermy. And it's just supposed to be like, ooh, spooky.
Yes.
Like,
very like A24, but not A24. You know what I mean?
Lacking the like forethought.
Yep.
Of A24.
Because it's like A24 is like, oh, what's the deeper meaning of this? Yeah. It's like this movie, there's none. I cannot tell you a lesson I learned from this movie.
They just thought that the taxidermy looked
I guess
cool.
this one is, if it looks weird at the beginning, it's gonna be weird. So maybe just don't.
And that's fine. I don't need every movie to be a
I don't need
metaphor.
to be thinking my head off, especially for a horror movie. Sometimes
scary movie.
Which also, I mean, is this really a scary movie?
I think that there are some scares, but yeah, as we see, she discovers a portrait of this elderly couple and the boy. She explores the house and she gets jump scared by a handsome man.
Because she's hearing noises upstairs, she wanders upstairs and goes into the boys' room. She finds all the toys. She starts playing with the toys.
There's a rocking horse.
Yeah.
There's little clowns and shit.
Yeah, and then she's playing with this like little like wind-up doggy toy or something, and then this guy scares her. And this edit is insane because it's just a normal scream of her, but then all of a sudden it turns slow motion, and they show like the toy falling as if it means anything at all. It doesn't.
That's what I literally wrote.
Literally nothing.
I literally said the edit is so goofy. Why did it just go slow motion for no reason?
And this is the only time that they ever really kind of do that.
It's just a lot of like weird random editing choices and like stylistic choices
that don't really make sense.
Just for the sake of
that aren't needed. Because I mean, just the scream alone was like okay, girl. Good. There's a jump
scare. Like the toy like kind of ricochets off the floor and it's like slow motion.
And it's like they act like it's so important, this story. It's literally not. Because I would get it if it like broke. Because then they could have maybe wrote that in and be like, oh, Brahms is going to be happy about that. But no, like,
no.
That's it. But yeah, so then we meet Malcolm, who he is the grocery boy. He introduced himself as, and then he says the grocery man. And then he says, I own the grocery. And I'm like, well, which is it?
Do you?
So you're already suspicious in my book. How do you not know what you are?
What's your story, Malcolm, if that is your real name?
But anyway, they start talking.
He's nice.
And
he's personable, charming.
Yeah. And he asks this. I like this. He asked where she's from. He was like, California, right? And she goes, Montana. And I'm like, honestly, to him, they're probably the same thing. That doesn't mean anything different to him.
Yeah.
But to us, I'm like, girl, not even not even close.
Not even close, right?
Not even close, honey.
And he tells her that he can read gum. Like, he can, like, read it, like, reading her, like, tarot cards or something. And this, I think, is weird. I think they could have done another, like, little flirty, charming thing for him to do, because this is kind of cringe. He, like, has her spit out her gum into his hand.
Ew.
Ew. And then he, like, starts telling her, like, trying to guess her past or something, like, where she's from. And he says, you're trying to escape a dark past. He's trying to be funny. But she kind of goes cold, and it kind of triggers her. And she's like... Oh.
And we get kind of, like, hints at her past and throughout. And we kind of get vibes of what's going on and what happened.
Like, she's definitely has some trauma. And she's clearly escaping some kind of troubled past. But she changes the subject. And she says, what's the family like?
Yeah. And he says, like,
She says they're nice.
Yeah, they're really nice people. And she's like, okay, what about the boy? Like, tell me about this boy.
And he gets cagey. He's like, I don't really know what I can explain about Brahms, you know.
Brahms!
Maybe.
I'm also going to say, my British accent, this is going to be unbearable. Because anytime we talk about Brahms...
I know. And I have my Uncle Gary is from England, and please don't be disappointed in me as we do our shitty accents, babes.
I just love it. I love it.
Okay, and then this is where the mom appears. Mrs. Heelshire is her name.
She is not here for Greta.
She just reads this bitch. She says, where are your shoes, darling?
And she's like, oh, Brahms he likes to take things. He's gonna play, he likes to play games. I don't think she says he likes to take things, but she says he likes to play games.
This actress literally serves so much cunt in this campy British posh character role.
Amazing.
Like, she really sells it. She's very entertaining. She leads Greta to the study, and we see her husband with his back turned.
Mr. Heelshire.
His back is turned to the camera, and he's kind of obscuring his son, who's sitting in the chair from our view of him. And then he turns around, and he says, we'd like to introduce you to Brahms. And we see for the first time that Brahms is this doll. This, like, porcelain doll.
He's very posh.
He's very posh. He wears a little, like...
schoolboy uniform.
Yeah.
And he's
and he has a side bang.
And he's just...
swooping
side bang. And he has very,
bang.
like, nice skin. I want to know his skin secrets.
I know, right? What dermatologist does he see?
Oh my god. Dermatologists hate him.
Dermatologists hate him. What's his secret? And she's kind of...
She does not buy it at first. She kind of starts to laugh. And she's like, what?
Like, oh.
She's like, oh, y'all are joking, right? And then, but they're like, serious.
And Malcolm comes in, and he's trying to maybe, like, ease some of the tension. Like, he's like, oh, Brahms, you look so nice today. And
oh
like,
my god, what's up?
Yeah, hey, Brahms, good to see you again. Hey, Brahms, hey,
how's it going? Hey, babe. See, I would have been vibing with Brahms.
Brahms seems cool. He seems chill.
He seems so easy. I'm like, this seems easy.
He seems easy.
Because you know what? I like that we'll get into it.
And Greta kind of smiles awkwardly, and she kind of goes with it. She shakes Brahms' hand as well. And this is when we get this amazing montage of Miss Heelshire going over, like, kind of introducing her to the rules of how to take care of Brahms. And I wrote down this. I'm going to deliver a dramatic interpretation.
Oh, did you get the list?
Yes, of this monologue.
It's so good.
Miss Heelshire says, We might as well get started, my dears. We have a lot to go over. We've tried several nannies for Brahms, but he's rejected all of them. They weren't nearly as young or as pretty as you, though. You'll wake up every morning and dress him. He has 3 hours of lessons, 5 days a week, and I like to start out with poetry. And you must read in a loud, clear voice.
She asks if she knows any poetry. And she goes, I can recite all the words to green eggs and ham. She is not feeling it.
Look impressed one bit.
She's like, I'm not joking.
Ugh. Well, next is music appreciation. I don't know how Brahms survives without his music. And he does like it rather loud. And then she blares the opera music really loud.
I'm like, okay, Brahms.
And she says, we don't throw out any food in the house because of the vermin, Miss Evans. This is a country house. We must take certain measures against the vermin. And the husband shows her that they put the leftover food that they like make in the freezer. And he says, now I'll show you to the traps. And they go outside to look at where the rat traps are. And this is when we see Miss Heelshire dancing with Brahms from the window. Like, this is crazy. Like, what the fuck? And he's, yeah.
And he says to her, like, he's like, listen, I know it may seem kind of weird at first, but Brahms is here.
Yeah, he says, I wrote it down, he says, regardless of what it looks like on the outside, our son is very much here. He's very much with us. And then he also says that their last tradesman accidentally painted the fucking windows shut. So you can't open the windows. Which might be a little foreshadowing for later, perhaps. And they put Brahms to bed, and they're kind of like praying with him. They're like, God bless Brahms, and God bless Mummy, and God bless Daddy, and Greta. And Greta is kind of like, she's there listening, and they go, can we have a moment to speak with Brahms, please? And Miss Heelshire just slams the door in Greta's face, like rude. And you kind of hear some whispering, and she's kind of listening. You can't really hear. And they come back out, and she says, he wants you, Miss Evans. He's chosen you. And Greta's kind of being polite, but when she's alone in her like room, she calls her friend, and she's freaking out. And her friend reminds her, like, girl, it sounds weird probably, but you probably need to take this job. Like, you're kind of desperate right now. And the friend also warns Greta that someone named Cole has been harassing her. And we kind of gather that Greta was in this abusive relationship with Cole, and that she even filed a restraining order at one point, and he's clearly ignoring that. And we kind of get that this is maybe why she's here in the UK, trying to kind of hide from him, basically.
Yes.
And so the next day, Mrs. Heelshire is screaming at Brahms. It kind of wakes Greta up, and she goes downstairs, and all of Brahms's things in his room is all like
tossed
disheveled.
around, and she's like,
and he's throwing a tantrum,
and she's like,
oh, Brahms, clean up your room.
And
why do you do this?
We have to leave. Like
This is why we can't have nice things, Brahms. And
it's so good.
And this is when the mister shows her the list of rules that you must abide by when taking care of Brahms. Apparently Brahms is a bit particular. And he says, we can't help it. We've indulged him over the years, and he likes things a certain way. Yep. So this is when we see the rules.
Picky.
This is when we see the rules.
Okay. Rule number 1, no guests.
Rule number 2, never leave Brahms alone.
Rule number 3, save meals in freezer.
Rule number 4, never cover Brahms's face.
Rule number 5, read a bedtime story.
Rule number 6, play music loud.
Rule number 7, clean the traps.
Rule number 8, only Malcolm brings deliveries.
Rule number 9, Brahms is never to leave.
And rule number 10, kiss goodnight.
Brahms. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna say, I would take this job.
Would you? Yeah, it's a good question. I
would
think
take
I
this
would
job.
too.
Because first of all, 10 easy rules. Okay, that seems pretty simple.
He's an easy kid.
I'm like, oh, he's cool.
You know what I mean?
Because you know what I like about him? He doesn't yell.
He doesn't yell. He's quiet.
He's quiet. I'm like, Brahms,
Right.
this is what we're doing.
He's not
No
yelling
fussing.
at my face.
So first of all, and I like the rules for me. I like to have a schedule and to be
Good routine.
a good routine. It's a good routine to stick by. I'm like, that
Good-
seems easy. Okay.
Good for your health.
But now some of them would I break? Absolutely. Because no guests. Okay, Brahms, we gotta have friends over.
Maybe we could socialize. Maybe we could like help Brahms like.
But like Brahms, we're gonna meet. I think it's time to meet people.
Yeah.
I think. Brahms, have you ever smoked weed? There's so many things. Brahms. Okay, and then also with the music, I'd be like, okay, Brahms, the opera, I like it. It's fun.
Right.
But let's listen to some Mariah Carey.
Right. Let's listen to some divas. Let's put some Madonna. Let's put some
Lady Gaga.
Some Lady Gaga.
Britney.
Britney.
I think Brahms would really like Britney.
I think Brahms would be a Britney stan. I think he'd like Cher. I think he'd like all the divas. But
absolutely.
So yeah, we could definitely maybe influence Brahms a little bit.
So I would
take
that.
the job. Yeah. So before they go to leave, Mr. Heelshire says, "Be good to him, and he'll be good to you, but be bad to him." And then the missus is like, "Oh, but you know, she will. It's fine. Like she's gonna be good. Okay, let's go. Come on now." And she gives Greta a hug goodbye, and she whispers, she's like,
I'm so sorry.
Sorry. And
Which is
it's
like, okay, wait, what?
And then the husband's like, let's go. Come on. Like, come on.
Like,
She's like, get in the car.
I'm sorry. Sorry for what?
Sorry for what now? What was that?
Sorry for what?
What'd you say? And yeah, but they leave, and they have this like sullen, weird vibe about them as they go. And Greta goes inside, and she turns to Brahms, the doll, lying in the chair, and she says, "No offense, Brahms, but you kind of creep me out."
And so she covers his face, which, girl, that's a rule.
She broke a rule right off the bat.
Let me check my watch. Not even a minute
Not
in.
even 1 minute in, and you can't follow one rule,
Because that
Greta.
would have been, okay, Brahms, let's go. I would have vibed with him.
Greta
I keep
is
saying he's
incompetent. She is an incompetent nanny.
Everyone says he's creepy. Is he creepy? Absolutely. But I'd vibe with him.
I think we'd vibe.
Just because he's creepy doesn't mean he's not a vibe.
I think he's a vibe.
So...
She covers his face with a blanket.
And she goes and gets some, like, peanut butter.
And some wine.
And some wine. She doesn't drink the wine. And she falls asleep.
Mm-hmm. And she wakes up and she kind of sees the doll and gets spooked, and he's uncovered.
He's uncovered.
What happened to the blanket? It's not on him anymore.
But she just shakes it off.
Yeah, she kind of does that a lot in this movie. She's just whatever.
Okay. Which I'm like, honestly...
Fair enough.
I probably would have done that too, because I would be like, maybe it just fell off.
Yeah, well, it kind of like the blanket's on the floor in front of him, so it's kind of like, did it just kind of fall off, or weird. That night, there are sounds of a child laughing that wake Greta up in her bed, and she goes to investigate downstairs, and she kind of pauses before the portrait of the family, and then the little boy in the picture. His hand comes through the portrait and it chokes Greta. And then she wakes up and it was a dream.
And it was all a dream.
Which, lazy writing. There's a lot of, like, dream sequences in this movie.
That are just like, jump scare.
Yeah.
Because we have a dumb one.
Yeah, a lot of jump scares in this movie. This is the first of many. And she goes to Brahms's room, and we get this nice little fake out where he's sitting there, and she kind of looks at him, and a tear rolls down his face. And she is like, what the fuck? And then she realizes it's just the leaky ceiling because it's raining outside, and it's just like a raindrop kind of dripping on his face.
But it's very similar to... Have you ever seen the Real Housewives reunion moment with the bunny? With Lisa Rinna?
No.
Oh, it's so good. So basically, one of the women brings a bunny that was supposed to go, like, that Lisa Rinna gave to her grandson. And she's like, the question is, like, what happened to the bunny that Lisa gave your grandson? And she's like, I brought the bunny because I never gave it to my grandson. And then Lisa Rinna cries a single tear over it. Like, it's cinematic, because they also are, like, arguing, like, well, I want Lisa to have a moment, and she just has a single, and then she just pants her with a single tear, and she's like, I don't have to explain myself.
Oh.
So it reminded me of that.
Yeah, it was, and it also...
I'll show you that later. It's funny.
Sure. And it also gave me Nita Bonina on Drag Race when she cried that one single tear on season 9. Yeah.
Because she should have been Black China.
Yeah. But it was just the rain dripping down. Greta tries to go up and explore the attic, but the attic door won't budge. It's kind of sealed shut. And then she goes throughout her second day alone in the house. And she's just pretty bored. She calls her friend who doesn't answer. And then the phone rings again. And we hear some creepy mouth breathing on the other end. She's like, Cole, is this you? And then there's this weird little moan that kind of sounds like someone's gooning on the other end. It's literally like, it's like, oh yeah. Do you like that, Daddy?
You like that?
No sulking clock.
And then,
No sulking clock.
And then, the line gets disconnected. And she's like, what the fuck? The third day in the house, handsome Malcolm shows up to deliver the groceries again. He keeps flirting with her.
What's up, handsome Malcolm?
Mm-hmm. And Greta takes this opportunity to ask about the doll. And this is when he takes her out to a tombstone that's kind of set up for Brahms outside. And we learned that the real Brahms died in a fire
8 years old.
when he was 8 years old.
It was on his birthday, too.
It was on his 8th birthday.
Brahms!
And the doll is most likely a coping mechanism for his parents. Like, to kind of
that's what we
deal
kinda
with
get.
his grief.
That's kind of what's being
Alluded
presented.
to.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then it does, like, a shot of them, like, when they're leaving from inside the house, giving the kind of, like, sense that they're being watched. Because then it shows Brahms. He's like, it looks as if the doll is watching through the window.
Yeah. There is some kind of cool, creepy
Yeah, so you're
things
kind
that
of
they
getting
do
this...
with the doll.
There's
Yeah.
kind of this... There's this weird vibe around the doll still.
Sure. But Greta is still kind of charmed by Malcolm. He's a charming guy. He's very cute. And he is like, do you want to maybe go out and I can kind of show you around the town? And she obliges him. She's like, okay. And she's getting ready to go out with him that night. And she walks past Brahms's room and she notices that Brahms is now sitting on the bed with his head turned towards the door, which is not where she left him.
Yes.
And I wrote, she acts way too fucking nonchalant, and she just shuts the door and, like, goes in the other room. I'm like, okay, whatever. I would be, at that point, I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's not where I fucking put you, bitch.
Yeah.
And she goes to take a shower, and we see someone, it's like a POV shot. Someone sneaks into the bathroom while she showers and steals her dress and her necklace. And she gets out of the shower, and she notices this, and she also notices...
And this is her hair.
There is a chunk of her hair that's missing.
It's been, like, cut out.
It's been cut off. I think he kind of wanted to give her a little bang.
Which maybe that would have helped her a little bit.
I think he was trying to give her styling tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's kind of like, what the fuck? And she goes out into the hallway in nothing but her towel, because all of her clothes have also been missing. Like, she goes into her room and all the clothes are missing. So she goes out in her towel.
And so you're like, what the fuck is going on?
And she's like, wait a second. The attic door is wide open.
Yes.
And the ladder's been pulled down.
And she, like, thinks somebody's up there. She thinks it's Malcolm. And she's like, Malcolm, this isn't funny.
Are you there? She's investigating the attic. She goes
grabs
up.
a spear from, like, one of the, like, suits of armor that are just, like, it's just decoration on the wall. She just grabs this spear.
Which, I mean, like, that's a good, like, defensive weapon, I guess.
It's long. Range. You got the range.
Uh-huh. You won't lose your towel. You know, you don't have to jab too hard. Your towel won't fall off.
Yeah.
She's investigating the attic, and she gets jump scared by the ladder kind of retracting up and the door slamming shut.
And so then she's locked in the attic.
She's locked in the attic. And we see Malcolm pull up to the house to pick her up, and he's knocking on the door, and she's trying to get his attention, banging on the window.
Yeah, and you can't hear her.
Can't hear. I mean, the windows, I guess, have been sealed shut.
Yeah.
Previous tradesmen painted the window, so yeah, she can't even open the window to get to him.
Break it open.
And
here's the thing: he can get into the house.
Oh yeah, he does.
So I don't. This is where I get a little confused on Malcolm's part, because I'm like, okay, clearly she was gonna do this, and if she's not coming, why would you not be like, okay, maybe she can't hear me? Because he only knocks very lightly.
I forgot he literally does have like probably a key to the house because he's the grocery.
He delivers the groceries because he shows up all the time, like when she's not there.
Yeah, he shows
or when
up,
she's there.
He shows up
like,
uninvited and unannounced all the time in this movie.
And so it's like, but this time you won't, like, why wouldn't I go? Because he could be like, my head at least would be like, oh, maybe she's still in the shower.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's still getting ready. Like,
but yeah, so he ends up leaving because he doesn't notice her. And in the darkness, she turns around.
And she sees a figure.
Yeah.
And it scares her and she falls back and knocks herself out until the morning.
And again, slow motion editing for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just like, as she just falls against the floor.
Because just like, you can just show it.
Yeah.
She'll just fall.
Again, very random. This movie is so
I think I've done really well with just like a good, like, not to give a director, like, opinion, but like, just a good, like, cut. Like, she falls, knocks out, just cut. And then the next thing we know, it's just morning.
But Stevie, we have to be artsy.
I guess.
This is The Boy, okay?
They really, I think they also they
artsy.
really needed to meet the runtime. It was a 97-minute movie, which
Sure.
I love.
I do like how nice and short and sweet and simple this is.
It doesn't overstay its
Yeah.
welcome. Great movie. I unironically love everything about this movie. I think it's so funny.
I think I do too. I think I'm a boy stan.
She wakes up and she realizes what scared her was just like this dress form or like mannequin kind of thing.
There's like a coat hanging, like a hat, kind of.
Yeah.
But she finds a scrapbook of a bunch of pictures of childhood Brahms.
And he's kind of a cutie, like as a little toddler. And then we get to him like as an 8-year-old. I was like, oh!
Yeah.
He's a little weirdo.
Yeah, he was a creepy little kid for sure. There's also a picture of a little girl that is kind of hanging out with him in these pictures. And then the attic door just seemingly opens by itself again. And she goes back downstairs. All of her clothes have been returned. All of her missing clothes. They're back where they were. Except for her dress and her necklace.
Which I don't know if she kind of doesn't really notice for me.
Yeah, she's kind of like, oh yeah. And she calls Malcolm over, and he checks through the house for her to make sure everything's okay.
And they're messing with the ladder, and it kind of just like, with the slightest touch, just retracts itself. So then they just kind of assume...
It's just like, oh, faulty door.
It just the slightest movement, it caused itself to go up on its own.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, he offers to stay and keep her company. And they're playing pool, and she's kind of fishing him for more information about Brahms. And Malcolm says, well, there's 2 types of talk in this town.
There's the polite talk,
and
then there's pub talk.
And the polite talk is that he was a lovely lad, and his young death was quite a tragedy. And she says, well, what was the pub talk? He says that he wasn't such a lovely lad, that he was downright strange.
And he then tells a story where he came over, and it happened to be Brahms' birthday. Mm-hmm. And the mom was, like, throwing a little, like, party.
Happy birthday to you.
Like, opening presents with him. And the father was, like, not. He was out, and he, like, found him, like, he was drinking, and he, like, asked him. They started just, like, drinking together. And then he was, like, he asked him, like, he asked the exact same question, like, what was Brahms actually like? Because she asked him, what was Brahms like?
And
like, what's the truth? And
they were kind of drunk, so the dad kind of opened up and said one word.
Odd.
He was odd. Quite odd.
Quite odd.
That night, Greta's friend calls her again, and during their convo, her friend is like, oh, by the way, Cole tricked my 10-year-old into telling him where you're staying. And I noted that, like, why didn't her friend lead with that on the phone?
Yeah.
She was like, oh, and by the way, like, I guess I should mention it to you that, like, your stalker knows where you live now. But, okay.
I mean, I guess, like, it kind of, like, do we really... Maybe she didn't, I mean, bad friend, but maybe she didn't think that he would go all the way to England.
Like, girl, like, what the fuck? That night, Greta goes into Brahms's room and sees that there are papers all over the floor. Like, he threw, a tantrum.
Yeah.
And Greta goes to turn Brahms' head to face away from her, and then it snaps back into place. And I jumped 10 feet out of my chair. Like, this one got me, girl. I was like, oh! But it was just a dream.
Again.
Another fake out. Yeah.
Because they love the fake outs in this movie.
It's so
the dream
many
fake outs are
fake outs.
so good in this movie. But not. They're also really bad.
I'm like lazy.
But that one got you.
But that one did get me. Greta wakes up and she hears giggling coming from outside her room. She opens the door and her shoes are sitting right outside the door. Her shoes that went missing.
The first day.
The first day she lost her shoes that she took off. They have been missing. And there they are. And she goes to Brahms' room, and he's sitting up on the edge of the bed, right in front of the door, looking at her. And the rules are placed right next to him.
This is the part that
like, bitch, follow the rules, bitch. You better follow the rules.
So good. It's my favorite part. It's so good.
Greta's kind of hiding in her room, like, freaking out. And then she gets a phone call from Brahms.
He's like,
Greta, come out, please. Come play. And then he says, why won't you follow the rules? Like,
and then she like looks under the door. She like throws the phone.
And then we see like his little feet kind of walking by the door.
It's like little pitter patter.
Yeah.
And we see like something kind of getting slid in front of the door.
And then the feet walk away. And
we just hear the little pitter
and he goes, I promise I'll be good.
Good.
I made your favorite. And then she opens the door, and it's a PB&J. And we had established she likes...
cut diagonally with the crust off.
Yeah, which is, we established
Brahms
earlier.
was not having
That's
it at this point.
likes.
He's like, oh, now I gotta show you how
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah.
He's a little upset with her. I would be too.
I would be upset.
I'd be like, Brahms, you would have had this. Brahms, I may not have followed all the rules.
It's
but
simple.
we would have been having at least some fun.
And you follow the rules, honey. That's what you gotta do. And then she goes back in, and Brahms is sitting back on the bed. And Greta is less scared and more, like, touched by this, I guess. She's like, oh, like, what a crazy sign of paranormal activity. And what a blessing. I'd be scared as fuck. I'd be like, well, I'm getting my ass out of here, bitch.
Yeah, girl,
I'm not messing with this shit.
First of all,
and
too spooky for me.
And we cut to this, okay. This is when we get a montage of the Hillshires, like, writing a letter.
They're writing a letter.
And then they're on the beach.
Because the husband's like, it's time. And then they're walking on the beach.
They're
putting like a shot of their feet. And
they're putting heavy rocks.
And start putting them in their pockets.
Yeah, like stuffing their pockets.
But I'm also
with heavy
like,
rocks.
how many do you really... I feel like you need a little bit more than what
Yeah, they only put a couple rocks in their pockets. I don't think that would drown them.
They're like weighing themselves down to drown themselves.
And the note says, we get kind of flashes of it, and we see it says, I'm so sorry, my son. And then it also says, the girl is yours now. And then, yeah, they drown themselves.
And they say, love mommy and daddy.
Yeah. So, okay. They died.
And they're gone. They're just gone.
Okay.
Dead.
And then we see Greta, this is when she's in her, like, standing Brahms era. Like,
yes.
She's, like, following all the rules.
She's like, okay, Brahms.
We get a montage of her reading to Brahms.
She gets it.
She's playing his music. She's eating breakfast with him. She's putting him to bed. The last rule is kiss goodnight. She does not do that one. She said, I'm not going to kiss this little doll. I will do everything else, but I think that's weird. I understand that. That is weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little weird. But it's the rule, girl.
It is a rule, so you gotta follow it, girl.
But also, I'm like, compared to everything else, I'm like, okay. Night, baby.
Uh-huh. So Malcolm visits her. He's kind of checking in on her because he hasn't heard from her. And he also asks her out again.
She gets kind of spooked by him. And she's kind of like... He's getting the vibe that he doesn't want her there.
Yeah. She's like, okay, well, I'm fine.
I'm taking care of him.
Yeah, I'm focusing on Brahms now.
Like, Brahms is kind of an icon. Like, he's
So
cool if you get to know him.
Into Brahms.
Like,
right
if you
now.
get to know him, you're just the grocery man.
Yeah, he's
The
built
grocery
different, and you're just a grocery boy. Yeah. And she does not laugh when Malcolm kind of like messes with the doll.
He's like,
high
oh,
five,
Brahms will be
Brahms."
okay with it. Brahms will be okay with me. You want some Brahms time, right? You want to just chill by yourself for a little bit.
Yeah, he tries to give it a high five.
And she's like, what are you doing?
She's like, don't joke about that.
Don't joke about that.
Don't
joke about that.
And yeah, so Malcolm leaves, and Greta's trying to talk to Brahms. And she says, if there's a spirit in this house, please give me a sign. And she leaves the room, and when she comes back, the doll has seemingly moved into the other room. So Greta calls Malcolm back to show him how Brahms is able to teleport, basically. He's moving on his own. And she uses chalk to mark where he's sitting on the floor. And they go into the other room, and when they return, he hasn't moved. He's not doing anything. And Malcolm, at this moment, is like,
Oh.
this bitch is crazy.
Bitch is crazy.
Yeah.
She's going crazy. She's going cuckoo bananas for
Cuckoo
this doll.
Bananas. And Greta is just desperate to get Malcolm to believe her, and they leave the room again. She wants to try one more time. And this time, yeah, they can actually hear footsteps coming from Brahms's room. And when they return, he has moved
Because
to the
she
other side of
also
the room.
says to him before, she's like, you have to do it this time or else I have to leave. Like, you have to convince him or else I have to leave. Because she's kind of thinking,
To
oh my
Brahms,
God,
right?
maybe I have gone crazy.
Yeah.
And so then, I think that's why he was like, crap,
That's why
gotta move.
Brahms is like, I need to move. Yeah. So he...
Because she's mine now.
Yeah.
She's mine now.
So, yeah, they're kind of like reveling in having witnessed this phenomenon.
And they just think it's like this little ghost that's like of Brahms that's possessed the doll. And they're like, it's the vibe of the movie changes completely.
True. Yeah.
They go to more from this like spooky thing to like more adventure, like fun, like hanging out with our ghost doll.
Yeah, sure. And they take a walk outside, and she's kind of shares her backstory at this point with Malcolm. And we learn that she got pregnant with Cole's baby, and he abused her, and he caused her to lose the baby.
Yeah, we learned he was always abusive. He left. She found out she was pregnant. He came back, swore he changed. He didn't change. And then he left again. She went to the hospital, and she had lost the baby. Which, the baby part was so unnecessary. I was like, this baby was mentioned and killed all within one sentence.
Well, I actually do like this kind of because it kind of informs why Greta is taking care of Brahms and being so passionate about it. It's because she's kind of like, oh, I'm getting a second chance at being a mom.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Makes sense. But I think the baby part could have been mentioned before.
Yeah.
Because it really is just like, I was pregnant and I lost the baby, just by the way.
Well, there's a lot of vagueness going on with the Cole storyline in general. We'll get into it. But anyway, she's, kind of believes that the universe has given her a second chance to raise a child, to be a mom. And so that's why she's holding on to this Brahms thing.
Yes.
And Malcolm, he empathizes with her, and they end up sharing a kiss. So we see Greta putting Brahms to bed that night, and she even kisses him goodnight at this point. And she calls him Brahmsy.
Brahmsy. Brahmsy.
And
Brahmsy.
Malcolm and Greta are kind of making out. And Brahms is cock blocking because he blares his music, and they find him in the study next to the fucking music.
Hello, Brahms. It is bedtime.
Yeah. What are you doing up?
What the fuck are you doing up, Brahms? It is bedtime.
And Malcolm is kind of like, what the fuck? Like, okay, cock block much. And he admits to Greta that he is a little creeped out by Brahms. He's like, maybe you should stay the night at my place. And Greta is just like, it was just a tantrum. Children have tantrums.
And they do. They do.
And yeah, children do. But this is a ghost boy, okay?
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly. And
but first of all, it's bedtime.
yeah.
And that's where I'm a little upset. I'm upset with Brahms.
Go to bed.
You got that kiss goodnight, and this is how you repay me?
Yeah.
See, she should have reprimanded him.
She
for that.
should have read him the book Go the Fuck to Sleep.
Yeah.
You seen that book? It's
No,
like,
I'm
It's a
not.
spoof of Goodnight Moon, but it just says "Go the fuck to sleep."
Oh, I cannot wait to read that to my nieces and my nephew.
I will have to buy that book for you. You will. I bet Keaton has heard of that book.
Yeah, we'll talk to Keaton about it.
Yeah, Malcolm decides to finally kind of share some important information with her. He said Brahms, back in the day, had a play date with a little girl named Emily Krebs. And they went out to the woods, and she never returned. The police found Emily with her skull crushed in. And when they went to kind of take Brahms in for questioning,
the house was already on fire.
the Hillshire's house was up in flames, and Brahms had gone up in flames as well, supposedly. And Malcolm says, so if this is a spirit, what if it's not the good kind? And Greta's like, no, Brahms wouldn't hurt me. And she's like offended, and she's like, I think it'd be best if you leave.
Because how dare you slander Brahms like that?
Brahms is the queen of fucking pop.
Absolutely.
And
So yeah, then we get back to the house, and she's sleeping, and she hears some noise, and it's the pool table. Somebody's playing some pool.
And we
And
discover...
it better not be Brahms, because Brahms,
No.
one strike, okay. But 2 times, I'd be kicking his ass.
Right.
But then she thinks it might be Malcolm. No.
It is.
It's Cole.
Cole! With a ponytail and a bad goatee.
And first of all, that's the first thing you start doing. You come into this house. First of all, how did you get it?
First of all, what happened to hello? How are you?
How did you find the house
My name
address?
is.
Like, how did you find the address? Like, there's so many questions. I have.
Yeah, I don't know, but he found her. And he's playing pool in her house, and she's like, hey, Cole, what are you doing here? And he's just a total douche. First of all, he like he's like, what's up, babe? And he mocks.
Oh, you look good.
And he mocks.
I've changed. He says he's changed.
He's like,
I've changed.
babe, I've changed. Like, what the fuck? Why are you acting
love
like
you.
this? Why are you being crazy? And he like mocks her for taking care of the doll. And
He thinks she's joking.
yeah.
She's like, this is Brahms. And
He's like, okay.
no, there's like a little kid somewhere, right? He's gonna pop out with the kid. And she's like,
It's him.
it's Brahms.
It's Brahms back.
Don't make fun of Brahms like that.
Yeah, he runs pop. And then
Period.
And then Cole's like, well, I already bought your ticket to go home, so here, let's go.
I did not ask that. Also, no.
Also, no, I don't want to come with you.
I want to stay with Brahms.
I don't want to look. I don't want to talk to you.
He goes off.
Yeah. And Malcolm shows up, and he's kind of like alarmed by Cole's presence. And in the other room, Greta says, she's like,
Malcolm. Let's also talk about Malcolm. Just shows up again.
Malcolm is kind of wild for that. He does that a lot,
He just
right?
pops in. I'm like, why are you here
Unannounced.
this late? Why are you here this late?
Like, literally, what happened to knocking? What happened to ringing the doorbell? Actually, just knock. Don't ring my doorbell. The doorbell's loud. It scares me.
It
Don't
scares
ring
the
it.
hell out of me. You know, I have a Ring camera installed, actually, so I'll see you I'll get the notification.
I think Greta's problems would have been solved if she had installed a Ring camera.
Yeah, but they didn't have Wi-Fi. Which that would have been the first thing.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like, okay,
true.
well, Brahms, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Wi-Fi.
Right, yeah. I would have absolutely needed that if I was going to stay in this big-ass house.
Because imagine, like, all the things you could have shown Brahms with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you like listening to opera? Bitch, you can watch opera.
I'll watch the opera, honey. Oh, and also, speaking of opera, remind me, this movie has an allegory to the Phantom of the Opera that I was thinking about earlier. We'll get to it at a certain point, but I did draw some parallels to
the original.
original.
I can see that.
Yep.
See it.
So anyway, she's like, I'll be fine, like, Malcolm, like, I have a plan to get rid of Cole, just like leave. And he's like, okay, I'll leave, but he decides to stay out in his car to kind of, just in case something happens.
And Cole's like, do I have to be worried about him?
Yeah.
Do I be worried about him?
He's just a friend.
Yo,
He's just
you
a friend.
Greta. And she's like, no, he's fine. He's just a friend.
And he goes, Greta, I need to know that you forgive me. Like, what do you mean? Like, I
For
forgive
killing
you?
the baby? For
You've
hitting me?
done
Which one?
Nothing. Like, what do you mean, do I forgive you? You're literally a piece of shit.
You literally just showed up.
Yeah.
You harassed a 10-year-old to get here.
Like, I'm not
Like,
impressed by your goatee and your ponytail. Like, get out. And she clearly does not forgive him, and he gets super possessive, very scary, and he says that he's never going to let her leave him again.
Yeah.
And he starts grabbing her very forcefully, and then she just kind of shakes him off and leaves and goes to her room.
Yeah.
That night, while Cole is asleep on the couch, a little bit of blood starts dripping on his face and wakes him up, and we don't see from where. And Greta is woken up by the sound of Cole screaming for her, and she runs to him and sees that there's a dead rat that has been planted in his suitcase, and the words "Get Out" written in blood on the wall. And
He thinks she did it.
he's like, yeah, he's like, Greta, why are you fucking with me? Like,
She's like,
what
I
the
didn't.
fuck, babe? And he starts to get really aggressive with her. And this is when Malcolm can hear him yelling, and Malcolm comes and runs inside to kind of protect Greta from Cole.
Yeah.
And Greta notices Brahms sitting in the room with them. And Cole says, don't blame this shit on the doll. Like, this wasn't the doll. And then he proceeds to snatch the doll up.
And he overheads him and
Smashes
smashes
the
the
doll
on a table. And my heart dropped.
It's a what the
Diva
fuck?
down.
It's a Brahms! Diva down! Brahms!
Wait.
No!
of silence for Brahms.
Let's take a moment of silence for Brahms. In this moment, he did get smashed. It was quite shocking. I remember being like, holy shit, when I first watched this.
Because, no!
And then, this is when the movie takes a fucking turn. The walls start to shake. There are banging sounds. And then the mirror
fucking explodes.
Yes. The mirror that Cole is standing next to explodes and reveals behind it a secret passageway in the wall. And a masked man starts to climb out of the passageway.
What the fuck is that?
It is it's this guy in like a wife beater, and he's got this
Porcelain mask
that kind of, I think it's a cool mask design. It's scary, honestly. I was very effectively creeped out by Brahms. It kind of looks like a little boy, like kind of like the doll, like a little porcelain face.
But it's just a little destroyed and beat up.
Yeah, it's kind of cracked, and he's so freaky, and he starts coming out, bitch. And Malcolm says, it's Brahms.
It's Brahms.
Yep. So it's the real Brahms. The real
Greta's
Brahms.
like, no, it's not. But it's like, no, bitch, that's
It's
Brahms.
Brahms. He attacks Malcolm, and then he attacks
Cole and kills Cole by stabbing him in the neck with a glass shard.
It was a piece of the doll, the porcelain doll that.
Oh,
so because Cole smashed the doll, and so Brahms was like, "You smash my doll, I'm gonna smash you with my doll, bitch."
And he did it.
Yeah.
You know what would have been better? If he did exactly what he did to Brahms.
And smashed him.
Brahms overhead and smashed his skull and it just exploded. This movie would have gotten an R rating.
That's if this was a Tarantino movie.
Yes, it would have been amazing.
And then he tries to grab Greta, but Malcolm comes in Malcolm comes to and knocks out Brahms, and they start to escape, but Brahms jumps out and starts chasing them.
Yes. And so they're like running through the walls of the house.
They try to call the cops at one point, but the phone line is dead. Typical. And Brahms uses...
Because Brahms just knew he had to do that beforehand. Somehow.
Yeah, cut the phone line. But Brahms is able to use his knowledge of all these secret passageways in the house to chase them around and catch up to them. And they're running through one of his tunnels, and this is when they discover his lair.
His bedroom.
Brahms'
his actual bedroom.
real room. Yeah, the real Brahms'
And there's a life-size doll
of Greta.
like dressed.
I wrote that
her dress.
I wrote sex doll. It's literally a sex doll of
like
her.
it's gross.
So like her dress and necklace that we saw get taken earlier, it's been kind of dressed up in this weird, creepy doll and like the locks of her hair.
The rattiest wig.
Well, it's the locks of her hair that he cut.
It's the rattiest.
He made it into a wig. Put on this doll.
Ratty.
And she also discovers the letter that the parents sent to Brahms before they drowned themselves. So she's like, and it says like, the girl is yours now. Like, do with her what you will. Like, ew! It's also ew. And they have to keep running, and they continue further down the passageway, and Brahms jumps out again, and they end up finding a way out while he's chasing them, but he's too close behind them, so Malcolm decides he's going to sacrifice himself.
Yes, and she's like, no, you can't. And he's like, no, I got to.
Mm-hmm. So that Greta...
Yeah, we'd be like, yeah, you know what, that's a good idea, bye.
Sure, yeah, I'd be like, cool, sounds good, Malcolm.
I'm out of here.
Take it easy, it's been nice knowing ya. But yeah, he bides Greta sometimes, and Brahms beats the shit out of Malcolm. And Brahms turns his head all creepy towards Greta. And he's kind of talking in that creepy little kid voice, which I hate. I'm like, ew, this whole time. Ew.
Greta, please come back.
Greta. And when she kind of like rejects him and keeps running, he switches up and he goes, if you leave, I'll kill him just like the others.
And notice he said others.
Others, plural.
Plural.
So has he been just killing all these nannies that they've had? That probably, most likely.
I don't know.
So yeah, Greta escapes the tunnel, but she goes back in through because she the front door because she wants to save Malcolm. And she arms herself with a screwdriver, which she hides in her back pocket. And she confronts Brahms. And she says, Brahms, I've come back to be with you, just like I promised.
And he gets, like, real creepily close.
And this is when I noted, he's kind of sexy.
He's also, like I noticed that. No. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, he got that chest hair. And he's kind of built.
He's definitely over 6'3". Like, he's tall.
He's kind of built. And I was like, hey, you know what, Brahms?
Maybe I could change him.
I can fix him. I can fix him. Brahms, I'm going to show you the world.
Brahms, please.
Show you the world.
Brahms.
It's okay, Brahms.
I'll treat you better than Greta.
She's like, he gets real
I'll
close
follow
and she's
all
kind of
the rules for you.
she's kind of creeped out when he's getting close, but then she
Yeah.
like switches and screams at him. She's like, Brahms!
She's like, Brahms, too much.
And he even gets a
Yeah, he's like,
oh my god.
oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just knocked over my water bottle.
He's literally he's like,
scared. And she's like, bedtime.
Yeah.
It's time for bed. And he's like, he kind of is like, wait, what? And she's like,
She-
it's time for bed.
You know what it is? She turns into a dommy mommy in this moment.
And he kind of,
And
he's a little whipped.
He's
a little
down
whipped.
for it. He's down
little
for it.
whipped.
And he gets in bed, and he gets under the covers, and then he says, kiss goodnight.
And she's like, no Brahms.
yeah, she initially
No
refuses.
kiss goodnight.
Then he grabs
Because
her arm.
you were bad tonight, and that's your punishment.
Then,
And then he grabs her,
then he grabs her arm.
pulls her in for a kiss,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of gets a little forceful with her arm.
It's gross.
And then she takes that screwdriver,
Stabs him in the
right
rib.
in the side.
Yep, right in the side, in the ribs. And then he starts choking her out. He chokes her up against the wall. I noted, he can choke me.
I was
like, I need to take myself to horny jail after watching The Boy.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
what the fuck?
I was like, okay, adult Brahms. Okay, adult Brahms.
Okay, I was into it. And yeah, so but she's able to evade him again because she stabs him even deeper with the screwdriver. And
I need to note, though, after she stabs him, he has this incredible Hulk strength and throws her off the bed all the way across the room into the mirror.
wait, he's ripped.
Wait,
He is so
I was like, what
hot.
is this
Like,
superhuman
he's
strength
jacked.
he possesses? But also like, oh, she's probably like, what? 135 pounds. So he just launches her.
I bet he could throw me against a wall.
Oh, I would let him.
Brahm.
So anyways,
Call me, Brahm.
she then stabs him again and he dies.
Yeah. And then she goes to find Malcolm.
And he's alive.
Who is still alive. And they escape together, and we kind of see them riding together to safety. And then... It's not over yet.
Because we see Brahms, the doll,
getting pieced back together. By somebody.
But who?
I think it's...
Brahms!
Bitch! I think
you can't kill
Brahms
Brahms.
is still alive, because you can't kill a bad bitch.
Can't kill a bad bitch.
Yep. That's it.
And that's the boy, and I...
Wait, Brahms, if you're still out there, if you're still alive, my DMs are open. That means we could, like, I can still get with Brahms, because he survived.
I love this movie. I know there's a sequel, which stars Katie
Holmes. It's really fun. We definitely need to cover it.
We will watch it, I promise, because it sounds like... I mean, I love this movie.
Oh, really quick. I do want to talk about my comparison to The Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, yes.
So this movie, I realized that there's a lot... was probably heavily inspired, I would assume, by at least the original, like, silent film version of The Phantom of the Opera. Mm-hmm. Probably not the musical, because the musical, like, definitely, like, romanticizes the Phantom and Christine's, like, weird relationship. And she's kind of into it.
Yeah.
But in, like, the original silent film...
the kind of, like, we were with Brahms.
Wait, maybe it is more like the musical. Because
he's kind of nice.
Because I wouldn't be mad if Brahms wanted to see me...
Just don't show the creepy side of your face, please. Just keep the mask on, please.
Yeah. But, yeah, Brahms is the Phantom in this allegory. Obviously. And Greta is Christine. And the Vicomte Raoul... Christine's, like, love interest is Malcolm.
Yes.
And because he wears, in Brahms's mask, when we finally get that reveal of the real Brahms at the end, the mask that he wears is very similar to the mask that the original, like, Lon Chaney version of the Phantom wears. Yeah. That's kind of that featureless, like, kind of porcelain face of, like, a man. Yeah. Kind of. And... he has his lair that we discover. Yeah. He literally has a doll of Christine. And this, like, the Phantom has a doll of Christine in the exact way that Brahms had a doll of Greta.
Creepy. You know what? I would fix them, though. I would fix him, too. I would fix both of them.
Brahms. Call me.
Phantom of the Opera. Hit me up.
Do you like that, Daddy?
Do you like that, Daddy? Oh, I love this movie, and I'm glad we reviewed it.
I'm glad we reviewed it, too. So, this was great. Great episode.
Great one. It's always a chaotic time. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
It's not serious, low stakes, and it's funny as fuck. All right.
I agree. So that was it.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
We're going to be in Chicago next weekend, so we don't have... We're seeing Mariah Carey.
We're seeing Mariah Carey. I was so excited. So we may
not be having a podcast next week, but we'll see. Let us know what you want us to review. We haven't decided one yet for next
But maybe, I think we might be able to make it work.
Maybe we can squeeze one in on the road.
Oh, yeah. We could always, because we're driving to Chicago.
Y'all might get a podcast on the road. Who knows?
Yes, that would actually be really fun. Okay, well, we'll figure it out. Anyways.
Till then, thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Scream. We hope you had a good time with us at Brahms' house.
Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a glowing review of the pod, of course.
You can also send us movie requests for future episodes. You can follow me at Parker_Will_C on Instagram, and you can stream my music, my album Ink, my song Psycho on all of the platforms. Yes. And Christmas time is in the air, you know. I do have a song called Holiday Blues if you need something to jam to around the holiday time.
It's a classic in my household. It won several Grammys in my house. So.
It went double platinum in your house.
And you can follow me at StevieNash95 on Instagram.
Until next time.
Bye.
This has been
Let's Scream. Bye.
Bye.